The ultimate trade setup. So after all my years of experience trading in the Forex market, I'm going to break down the most powerful trade setup that can help you get consistency with your trading. So the next several videos, I'm going to show you this setup in different market environments and different variations. These are all trade setups that I executed, lost, or had to make adjustments in real time. So let's jump into the charts now. So we're looking at gold here, and I'm gonna give you a little insight into my thought process and my approach when I first open up my charts in the morning. So my sweet spot is ideally right around 8 o'clock in the morning, and that is when the most volume is gonna be present, because now we have the London market and the New York market overlapping. And then I'm also paying attention to 9:30 a.m. Eastern when we have the equity. So when I looked at this is the most recent setup, and I'm gonna jump up to a daily time frame. I'm not going to do a full top down on this because it is very obvious just by looking at this chart, gold is extremely bearish. We have a confirmed higher time frame bearish expansion here. Now with it being this low, I'm pretty confident that there is no slowing down at this point. I feel pretty good about it coming down for these significant lows here. Now leading up to this point, we had a nice signature pattern. So a lot of the patterns I'm gonna be talking about over the next several videos, this is gonna be the preface of that. So again, we're running on highs here and then a strong dump off, right? We have a strong daily bearish engulfing candle followed by another bearish daily candle. We have a nice pullback, which is retesting this manipulation candle here, followed by the breakdown. And then that led us to today's price action yesterday's price action where we just see gold continue to fall and attacking these short-term lows. So that leads us to today's price action. So when I woke up, this is what I was looking at. So I got on right around 6:45, 7 a.m. in the morning. And what I'm looking for is what took place during Asian session and what took place during London session. Did we see manipulation during London? Is London retesting Asian manipulation? And then I tried to anticipate what we can expect coming into the New York-London overlap. So after the strong move yesterday, we can see price create a lot of imbalance. And that's typically where you're gonna see imbalance formed when we have strong, impulsive moves in the market, like we're seeing here. So towards the end of the overlap, coming into the end of New York, we can see price action moving sideways and just starting to fizzle out. Then we come into Asian session, and that is this white background here. So we can see Asian slowly moving up and attack these short-term highs. So I'm gonna mark those up here. And then when I see price run on highs or run on lows, I'm looking to see what happens after. So after we saw price push up, let me drop down to a 15. After we see price push up here, we can see a strong 15-minute bearish engulfing candle. Price plays around a little bit, comes back up, but respects this area, ultimately falling off, attacking previous day low here. And confirming a lower low here. So Asian, we have a run on highs that led up to a lower low. That is what I'm looking for during Asian and or London session. So now we have this candle, and that is a nice little manipulation candle here, which I'm going to mark up. And as we came into London, and keep in mind, I'm sleeping right now. This is all price action happening overnight. And this is just my thought process when I'm coming in and I'm looking for this type of stuff. I'm looking for manipulation that is creating new trading ranges, new swing points, new lower highs that are creating new lower lows. So ideally, perfect scenario here, I would want to see price push back up and test this candle, hold down, continue and make a lower low. And then this London session is going to be creating a lower high and a lower low. So what we're seeing here, Asian run on highs, falling off, creating a lower low. London, seeing the same thing, a run on highs, creating a lower low. And I've dropped down to a lower time frame just so you can get a better view of that. And we can see price kind of ranging here at the start of London session here. And we had some relative equal highs. And then we can see a strong push up. And this was probably inducing buyers, right? You'll have a trend line, break retest, buy stops, all these different things that are going to induce buyers into the market. Stop losses are going to be under lows. And we can see price was simply pushing up, attacking these short-term highs, respecting that Asian manipulation candle, which then led to just dumping off, attacking this low here that was created in Asian, ultimately creating a lower low. So let's go back up to the 15-minute. So now this is what I'm seeing when I come in the office in the morning. I'm seeing Asian run on highs, create a lower low. I'm seeing London do the same thing. Run on highs, create a lower low. So we have a nice manipulation candle here, and that is the trading range that I'm really focusing on. So now basically what I'm doing, I have the strong bearish momentum. We have a lot of bearish price action. Yes, we're on the lower side of the impulsive move, but this is NFP week as well. And just how strong the bearish momentum is, all of the higher time frame bearish structure, I am pretty confident here that this is going to come down, and I'm okay getting involved here at the tail end of an expansion. And despite that, we have some imbalance here. I think the momentum is too strong here. So there's also nothing that really suggests that this is going to turn. Even if I see divergence, I'm still seeing a run on highs and then lower lows created. As long as I see that, I'm going to attack. And this is ultimately that pattern that is gonna give you consistency in the market. It's gonna give you precision with your entries. There's gonna be no guesswork on where you're putting your stop losses or targets. We're targeting lows, we're targeting areas of liquidity like this one here, right? If I go to a line chart, we can see a very common pattern that retail traders love. That double bottom, that W pattern, or double tops, M pattern. That's where stop losses go. They look at that as reversal patterns. Right? Those are other things that we're targeting. So we have a very good, clear picture of where we're anticipating price to go here. So now that we have our pattern, I'm simply looking for a retracement into this kill zone here, which is our 71 to our 886. And then I'm looking for candles. So let me mark up the kill zone. Now, initially, what I did was I didn't see a really solid candle here. So I have this 1 minute candle here, and I'm gonna remove this out of the way so we can have a clear picture. I'm gonna mark up the two candles that I initially saw. So we had this candle here, and then there was a nice 45-minute candle, which also was pretty easy to identify. I think it was a 45. Let me just check here. Yeah, so it wasn't the cleanest 45-minute candle here, but let's mark that up as well. So let's go back to the 15-minute. And of course, we can see a 15-minute candle here, but a pair like gold, that's gonna be a pretty significant stop loss. And with my primary target being here, I'm trying to work in a solid risk to reward. So minimum for me personally, 1 to 5 risk to reward. So that's why I was looking a little bit higher up into the kill zone so I could get that risk to reward. So looking at this here, covering the top of this manipulation candle to that significant low, which is also in our fib extension levels, we're looking at a 1 to 5. So that was the reasoning behind that versus taking this 15-minute here, and now that drops me down to a 3.7, which is respectively still a good risk to reward, but with a higher risk setup, I'm always going to look for at least a 1 to 5. I want the potential reward to be worth the risk. So initially, I was also looking at this 1 minute too, with being prepared to, make adjustments to look at the 45-minute candle too, if I saw price was planning on coming short. This here would have been just shy of 11 to 1 on my money. So this one here, this one would have been a really solid entry, really good potential reward on the risk. Okay, so now I have my trade planned out. I have a pretty solid idea of where I believe price to go, and now it's just the time to wait for entry. And this is when I'm anticipating strong continuation moves, impulsive moves in the market, because now with this maroon background here, that is representing New York London overlap. That's where the most volume is going to be in the market. So we're looking for strong moves. We're looking for this to continue down. I'm not looking for price to consolidate. I'm not looking for price to dance around. I'm looking for this thing to just go. So now let's continue playing this out, and I'm going to give you a kind of a real-time analysis of what I was looking at, what I was anticipating, and then what ended up happening, which overall, my entry came short here, but we made a really solid adjustment. And this is a way that you don't have to get hung up on entries or missing entries, because there's always going to be another way you can get in. So at this point here, I am feeling like I am not going to see price come up, right? It fell short of the kill zone. It fell short of the 45-minute candle and obviously the 1 minute. And then we see a strong bearish engulfing candle. And at this point, it's looking pretty strong. We're in the overlap, and I'm thinking this is just gonna go. We saw price run on this short-term high here. You can see the slight spike above here. And if price comes short here, I'm perfectly okay with it. So some of you might be able to spot it, but now we have the making of another potential signature pattern. We can see another set of short-term highs here. And what I'm looking for is what we saw earlier. London session, Asian session, run on highs, creating a lower low. So if price comes short here and just runs on these lows, that double bottom, I'm perfectly okay. Because if we see something like this, now we have a new signature pattern, a new manipulation candle here. And then when I see it confirm lower low here, it's pretty evident that my initial entry point was, I came short. And then, only then would I transfer my entry from the initial spot down to this area here. So I'm gonna press play here. And there we can see price starting to go. So at this point, I'm looking at the 15-minute, 30-minute time frames, and I'm looking for a confirmed lower low, which ended up happening. So once we get that confirmed lower low, now my entry and stop loss is getting transitioned to this lower point of interest. And again, this is the pattern, and this is what you want to see. We're seeing the same thing at all three sessions. We're seeing run on highs on Asian, run on highs in London, run on highs in the overlap, all aggressively pushing to the downside. So now simply, we're transitioning the entry and we're looking for this here and that continuation. And we obviously have deeper targets too. Now, given that this is so low, I am not going to be greedy. We're also first week of the new month. We're coming into NFP. So here too, I'm still looking right around 1 to 5, and then I would probably start aggressively managing it when price comes into my fib extension levels. I'm not going to get fancy or greedy this early in the month. Ideally, NFP week, I'd like to pocket some gains so I can be in a free roll situation, because I personally like to get involved with NFP. So ideally, this is what I'm looking at. And this is another perfect example of the signature pattern here. So this is what we want to see now. Price pull back up here and continue down to these lows here. Ultimately, this entry fell short as well, and price just absolutely melted. But had I looked at the initial entry here and actually took the 15, go figure, that one would have actually played and produced some good risk to reward, but that's part of trading. More importantly, it's the patterns, right? And then making adjustments on the fly when entries come short. And then it just so happened that this one fell short and just kept running as well. So really, really powerful pattern here. I'm gonna continue this series. We're gonna jump into another powerful pattern in the next video, and I'll see you there.